What did you determine to be Mr. Johnson's cause and manner of death?
His cause of death was a gunshot wound of the head. The manner of death was classified as a homicide.
Tell me about the gunshot wound to the head.
The gunshot wound of his head was on the right side of his head, and it was kind of in the right temporal area of his head. Probably the most significant factor about it had significant and dense, what we call powder tattooing or powder stippling around the entry wound. It did not exit. The projectile fragmented, and the fragments were recovered, but it did pass into the head and through the brain, causing extensive and multiple skull fractures, as well as lethal injuries to the brain.
You talked about the powder tattooing or stippling. What does that tell you about the incidence of the gunshot wound?
Right, so the significance of that with this entry wound is it's the range of fire. And I can't be precise on that. You need to really have firearms and ballistics test fire the same weapon with the same ammunition. But it does give us an idea of how far the end of the barrel was from the decedent. And it was likely within, it was certainly less than 3 feet, but probably significantly closer than that. It was not a contact wound, but it was probably within inches.
Did you find anything that gave you any sort of insight in your professional experience as to the circumstances around the gunshot?
Well, probably how the body was found was certainly of significance. That was part of it. The body was recovered, had been wrapped in tarps, and buried in a clandestine grave. So that was certainly a significant factor.
Just so the record's clear, to your understanding, were Mr. and Mrs. Johnson found in the same grave?
Yes.
What do you believe to be Mrs. Johnson's cause and manner of death?
Her cause of death was multiple gunshot wounds, and the manner of death was also classified as homicide.
What is your best professional opinion with regard to how many gunshot wounds Mrs. Johnson sustained?
If you read the report, we have 5 gunshot wounds that are there. Some of them may have been, it may be that the gunshot wound entered, exited, and re-entered. There is definitely that possibility, certainly with 2 of them. So it could be from 3 to 5 gunshot wounds.
Where were the gunshot wounds sustained by Mrs. Johnson?
So for Mrs. Johnson, they were all largely on the left side. They were on the left side of her head was 2 of them, but then 3 of them were on the left upper back and shoulder area.